Hi everyone, welcome to Games of the Week for May 2017. It's a little bit early this month because there are a couple of time-sensitive things to talk about. The first one is fundraising. I talked about it at the end of last video and asked for opinions and things about it. I have decided that there will be a Kickstarter campaign. I've been working a lot on making the Kickstarter page. So the Kickstarter is going to launch next Saturday, the 27th of May. So it's going to be launching at 3 p.m. That's England time, BST, I think. We're in summertime, I think. GMT +1. I think we're in that. Well, it's summer, we must be in it. But yeah, 3 p.m. I'm going to launch the campaign. I will try to be live for the launch, just so, you know, say hello to whoever wants to turn up. If you've got any questions or anything, then great. But mainly just be, you know, hanging out and launching the campaign, which, you know, is a very exciting thing and a very nerve-wracking thing at the same time. But yes, so hope you'll join me at 3 o'clock on the day and we can see how this thing goes and get it, go on an adventure with it, really. So that is Kickstarter business. So onto the new videos. So the first one we've had since the last Games of the Week is Supermarket Sweep. This was the anniversary special. The 27th of April is the anniversary of the channel, and I thought I'd do something a bit special. You know, the idea started off as an April Fool's Day episode of, you know, playing through something that I still have. I have that game from when I was a kid. Supermarket Sweep, if you don't know, was a game show that was on in England. I found out that it was on in America though as well. There's an American version someone showed me a clip of. So maybe you do know Supermarket Sweep. But yeah, they made a board game adaptation of it that isn't fantastic, and I was going to do that as an April Fool's Day episode, and then I started thinking about, well, what if I could get someone to collaborate on it? And then I got in touch with Paul Grogan, and he was happy to do it. He's from Gaming Rules, and he's in the beginning of it. He does the voiceover and things for it. And you know, as it kind of expanded, I thought, well, this would be a good anniversary special. You don't have to watch the whole playthrough if you don't want to watch a game like that. But you know, I would be happy if you watched the beginning of it at least, because I really enjoyed making it, and I think it's funny anyway. So, and that's all you can really go by, isn't it? So there is Supermarket Sweep. Then there was Card City XL. Card City is a great city building game where the different districts will expand by themselves based on certain criteria. If you place things properly, then the city will grow by itself. XL adds a ridiculous number of options, you know, different ways to play, levels of complexity, variants, win conditions, all sorts of different things that can be combined together to make a ridiculous number of ways to play. Magic Maze is a real-time cooperative game where we're trying to get these adventurers around this shopping mall. But the trick is that we all have different actions. So maybe I can move everybody up, you could move everybody down, someone else could move everybody left. And we can do this at any time, but everything is done in silence. So there are things that need to happen, and people will just end up staring at each other because, you know, you can't say anything, but you need to make that person realise that they need to get the timer flipped because the time is running out. It's a really interesting take on it. I do a solo playthrough because a multiplayer playthrough wouldn't be that interesting with two people sitting there in silence playing it, but I play the solo variant and you can check that out. There was Clank, Sunken Treasures. I did Clank not too long ago. This is an expansion that adds new boards, new cards, new enemies to fight, new items to buy, just more basically, but it does add a few different mechanics, like there's underwater rooms now because we're on a pirate ship or something. So that's a lot of new stuff for Clank. And finally, the latest one is Kerala, not Kerala, as I say many times through the videos. Kerala is apparently how it's pronounced. I should have looked up that it was a place, really. But yeah, that is a kind of abstract tile laying game where we are making an elephant festival story-wise, but really we are placing tiles, and we have one starting tile with 2 elephants on it. You place a tile down you draft tiles, then you place one down, and you move an elephant onto it. So as the game goes on and you're laying tiles out, your elephants are moving further and further away, and you can only have one area of each colour, apart from your player colour, which you can have 2. But generally, you can only have one area of each colour. So placement becomes really difficult because your elephants, you know, spread out. There are different actions and things that can make it easier for you, but it's a really interesting game, and you can check a 2-player playthrough of that out as well. So now on to upcoming games, and there's something a little bit different. This is the other time-sensitive thing that I was talking about. On Kickstarter today is a game called Ravage, Dungeons of Plunder. And, you know, maybe in another timeline I managed to do a playthrough of this game, but it was too close to the Kickstarter. Last week I joined Ian Schofield, who is the artist and designer of Ravage, on Tabletop Simulator, and we played through a cooperative scenario of the game. It's basically a dungeon delving game where we all play as orcs. There's no good guys. We are all different classes of orcs. You know, you can have the cultist and the berserker, and you know, classes that you may be familiar with a bit of a twist, but we are all bad guys, and the game is kind of a faster paced dungeon crawl where you are trying to just basically fight it out. And hopefully there are pictures at the side of me showing some of this going on. So as I said, it's on Kickstarter. Links will be in the description, and there'll be a card on the screen so you can check the Kickstarter out. On your player board, you will have these different action cards, and they will cost energy to use, which you can earn throughout the game based on die rolls and things. But you will be spending energy to activate these abilities that will let you add dice to your attacks, or would let you heal, or all sorts of different things. But you spend energy to activate those things, but the energy you spend becomes your XP. And so as you are doing these abilities, you get to level up with them as well. So it's a little bit of a twist on, normally in a game you might want to hang on to all of these powerful things because, well, that'll spend all of my energy and then I can't do cool things again. But by spending a big load of energy in one go, you could level up really quickly and then get more powerful actions. So it's an interesting trade-off there. When you level up, you can flip one of your action cards the other way around, and it will enhance that action or change it up. I was playing the cultist character, and he could do that as well. He could flip one of his cards and level it up, but I could also go through, one of my action cards was a special thing where I had a separate deck of these skeletons, and I could, you know, get a random one from that and spawn a skeleton, which I could then make do things. It wouldn't just act automatically. I could make it go around and attack things and block damage from me, most importantly. That was something special for my character, and those skeletons, hopefully through the Kickstarter campaign, I think 2 of them have unique things and then 2 of them are more generic, but I think it's stretch goals in the Kickstarter will unlock more abilities for those skeletons. So it's we are going through a dungeon. As I said, it's a dungeon crawling game. The dungeons are made up of these cards. The first thing you'll do on your turn is delve and draw one of these cards. There are certain rules as to where you place it. You have to line up arrows and things, and the cards might have, you know, things on that would grant you energy. They might have spider eggs that at the end of the round might turn into spiders and start attacking you. You know, all sorts of different things you can find on the spider. Then you draw a card that might be a trap, or it might be an enemy that you now have to fight, and the enemies go in front of you and will try and attack you. They might attack other people if they're on the way, but they will generally try and attack you, so it's easy to kind of keep track of what's going on because the enemies are in front of you and they activate on your turn. So it's really easy to keep that up. We had a scenario where we had to donate a certain amount of teeth, which is the currency of the game. When you kill enemies, you will get a certain number, and you can spend them in a shop on new items and things. But in our particular scenario, it was a bit different because rather than wanting to spend all of the money, we needed some money each to be able to throw into this pit and summon the big boss, the serpent. And so our thing was basically run around and try and kill these things and earn some money, and then desperately try and make it to the pit where we will find this. If we throw the money in it, then we can stop making these bad things appear, because that's kind of an inbuilt timer into the game as well, because we are, you know, we're finding these new things every turn. There's a chance you can keep finding enemies, so they will eventually overwhelm you. You need to get in there and donate that money to cut off the spawning of new things so that we can just fight the boss, who is quite mean himself. It's all on Tabletop Simulator. I'll put links to the where you can download the scenarios for yourself. There's a couple available. There's the one we played, the Serpent's Pit. But there are all sorts of different ways you can play it. You can play it solo, where you just need to survive through a certain amount of the deck. Cooperative is what we played. You'll have a campaign, you'll have a scenario goal. And there's a treachery mode where now you control the monsters. You will have some monsters on your side, and so will everybody, and everybody is fighting it out to try and be the last man standing, basically. The co-op was the most interesting mode for me, so that's the one I wanted to try out. And it's got the combat's based on different colours of dice. That reminded me of Descent, but I think I haven't really played Descent that many times, but the thing I always thought is it seems cluttered. There isn't that much information on them, but it always seems strange and cluttered. And it was very simple of, there's just the number of swords is good things, and you can roll energy that gives you more energy to be able to spend on the action cards, but on the downside of that, it means that you haven't hit as hard. The enemy will roll defense, and the number that they roll you compare, and that's how much damage you do. It's a faster paced dungeon crawl. It's very dice heavy, so be aware of that, but it looks lovely. It's got the most interesting thing is the selection of the actions that you're going to do, and the way they level up, and that using them levels them up for you. I really like that. And there is choice in what you're doing on your turn. You're not just repeating the same thing. There are decisions to be made, and that's a thing that I found in Descent personally, is that generally almost all of the time I'll just do the same thing that I did the previous turn, unless I'm nearly dead or something. I'll just keep using that exact same skill or weapon or something just again and again, because it's obviously the best thing to do. Here there are various combinations of things that I really thought were interesting, and when you level those cards up as well, they will lead to even more interesting combinations. So that is I've probably talked a bit too long about that. That is Ravage. That's on Kickstarter right now, so you can go and check that out. Other anticipated games. Okay, we have Deckscape Test Time. This is another, in the vein of Exit and Unlock replicating escape rooms. This is another series from another company. I don't know very much about it, but I'm very interested to see what it brings to the genre. I watched Tom Vassel's review of it, and I took away that it may be a little easy, but I am interested in seeing what they are doing with it anyway. There's Peloponnes, Heroes and Colonies. I love Peloponnes. I have got all of the expansions apart from Victoria for it, so there's a lot of stuff going on in that game at the moment. But Heroes and Colonies is a big box expansion that adds a new disaster type, and it adds colonies, which replace the player boards in the game and give every single person a unique set of advantages and disadvantages, and I can't wait for that. It doesn't work with the solo game because the whole point is that everyone's got these unique colonies, but I'm really, really excited to see what it brings to the game. I was happy that the card game came out and that's getting expansions, but I'm surprised and still excited that things are coming out for the original game, which is my favourite of the two still. Next is The Networks Executives, which is the expansion for The Networks, which is over there, and a game I really love. It was in my top 10 of the year last year, where we're running TV stations trying to get the best shows and stars and things. This expansion adds things like all of the TV stations now have unique powers, unique advantages and disadvantages. All of the shows have the same chance of appearing. There's a new deck of shows that has every genre has the same chance, but now reality shows which were rarer have fewer viewers, and sports shows which were rarer need more upkeep because they provide a lot of viewers. There is no set starting cards like there is in the normal game. Everybody starts with the same thing, maybe different names, but the same basic stats. Now there's a draft in Season 0 where your starting money, shows and stars and things are going to be determined by that draft. And also the 5-show genre bonus, where you would, as well as getting a particular card, you would also be able to trade in money for points. That's gone, and instead it works the same as the 3-show bonus, where you will get a card, but now you get a power card, which will provide you with big point scoring opportunities. Really can't wait to check that out. That's going to be for demo at the UK Games Expo as well. Next is Dragonfire, and this is a re-implementation of Shadowrun Crossfire, which is a game I really, really like just the gameplay in itself, but the stickers and the leveling your characters up, getting new skills and trying to work out the new challenges that come your way with these new skills. It's a fantastic game. It's quite hard, but it's a fantastic game, and this is that game transposed from Shadowrun to Dungeons and Dragons. So interesting to see how that works out. Things take place in different locations that exist in the D&D world. The big downside to this is, though, great for people with big groups, they've added 5 and 6 players to it. But the great big downside is the minimum player count is 3 at the moment. They've mentioned a bit about maybe testing some 2-player things out. So hopefully they do that, because I would be I would be first in line for some Dragonfire. But if it's 3+ players, I don't think I care about it. So let's see how that goes, really. The Ruhr, a story of coal trade, is the next game in the trilogy that, well, story-wise, starts with Haspelknecht. And although that was the last game published, it's the first game, chronologically. So now Capstone, I think it is, that did a version of Haspelknecht, are now going back to the trilogy and doing them in chronological order in their way as well. So this is heavier than Haspelknecht, I know that. I don't know much about it. I have never played the original, so definitely excited to try that out. There's Between Two Cities Capitals, which adds a new building type, civic buildings, that will give you criteria like I want to be next to parks and industry, but I don't want to be next to residential, otherwise I'm only going to be worth 1 point. There are landscape mats to build on, which will have maybe mountains in the middle of where your city's supposed to be, or a big river, and you can build on the tiles that are available, that haven't got a river, obviously, you can't build on the river, and around the mat, and certain tiles will now be connected by bridges and things, so things that wouldn't have been adjacent before now are, thanks to these landscape tiles, and they'll provide even tougher decisions on where you can place your things, because there's going to be a great big rock in the way. And also it adds these bonuses for districts. There will be cards drawn at the beginning of the game. Say you want the biggest set of offices next to parks. So whoever has got the biggest area of offices next to the biggest area of parks will get this big point bonus for districts. So that adds different modules to the game. There's Fields of Arle, Tea and Trade. I really like Fields of Arle. It's a very big box Uwe Rosenberg game for 2 players only, which is a surprise. But that was a really, really fun game. And this adds new buildings, new resource type, and all sorts of extra things, but also makes the game 3-player. So great if you want it to have 3-player. I'm a little bit worried because it's going to make it expensive. There was big player boards and a lot of components for 1 player, but we'll see how it goes. I'm excited anyway to try new things in Fields of Arle. And finally, this is a bit of a weird one because it's technically not the board game that I'm really anticipating anymore. But I may drone on about this for a little while, so feel free to end the video if you aren't interested in hearing this. But it's something that it's very personal to me as well. It's Deadly Premonition, the board game. This was announced a couple of weeks ago. There was some teasers about it, and then it came out that it was going to be a Kickstarter board game for this old video game. It's a game that looks like a very old game. The graphics aren't very good in it. It seems badly acted at times. You know, the things don't make sense, just weird stuff's happening for no reason. It's full of glitches. Your cars will drive into hills in the middle of scenes. Really loud music will start happening that drowns out all of the conversation. There's combat in the game. It's a bit of a horror game where you have to fight these shadows with guns, and the combat handles terribly at times. It's not fun to get used to the controls and everything in it. There is so much wrong with the game, and I completely understand all of the people that I have tried to convince about this game that have said, no, I played it for half an hour, or I watched the video at the beginning of it, and I am not interested in putting up with that. And that's fine. I completely understand people that don't want to do that. But if you can put up with that, it is probably my favourite game of all time, despite all of those bad things that I said about it. By the time that the game gets its hooks into you, all of those things that sounded terrible and really off-putting, you are laughing about as part of the charm of the game. It's based a lot on Twin Peaks. You know, you are an FBI agent that's sent to a small town to investigate a young girl's murder. So, you know, very loud echoes of Twin Peaks there. The creator of the video game was really influenced by Twin Peaks. But this crazy story starts to unfold that is so interesting and beautiful. I've never come across anything like it in a game at all. It's got an amazing way of just filling you with information about this world. It's an open world game, so you can just cruise around and do side missions and things. So the story keeps unraveling to you, and it is fascinating and beautiful, and really funny at times as well. I couldn't say enough nice things about it. As I said, it's probably my favourite video game of all time. It is just fantastic, and if nothing else, it's on sale all the time for a couple of dollars. So if you play video games and you haven't played this, and you're willing to put up with a bit of stuff to actually play it, then I would absolutely recommend it. Or if not, and you want to go on YouTube and watch somebody play through it, or there are people that play through it without talking. So if you want to watch it or just watch some scenes from it, it is so funny and so fantastic and so moving and everything at once. It's fantastic. But anyway, the board game. So there's a Kickstarter for it. It doesn't seem like very much of a game that I'd be interested in anyway. It's kind of a party social deduction thing where we have locations, people, and weapons like Cluedo, and you're trying to play these cards to move different people's suspects from innocent to guilty, and you want to get all of your people innocent, and then you can win. But there's a killer, and if there's a killer and a certain weather card's drawn, the killer kills someone and they're eliminated from the game, but the game keeps going. It's not a particularly long game, but there is player elimination in it, and you're trying to work out who the killer is. Doesn't seem like a game I would like at all, which is heartbreaking based on all of that stuff that I just said about how much I loved that video game. So I don't think I can bring myself really to back the board game, because it doesn't look like something I care about whatsoever. I wish it was. I wish it was just Police Precinct. If you've ever played that, I wish it was just Police Precinct, just themed around, you're investigating things in Greenvale rather than the city that's in that game, Commonville, I think it's in there, isn't it? And, all of the characters were just characters from Deadly Premonition. But they didn't do that. They went a social deduction way, which is fine if you like those games. Maybe it's going to be a good game for people like that. I wouldn't know, because I don't like games of that type at all. But I'll say one more time, if there is any chance that you will watch or play through that video game, it is fantastic and worth anything that you put up with in the beginning, anything that is off-putting in the beginning. I really hope that the game would get its hooks into you as well, and it's I still remember it as a fantastic experience, and I don't do it much with video games at all, even when I played them a lot. But it is a game I've gone back to a few times since as well, just to play all the way through. And it's a huge game, it's such a long game. But I will shut up about that now. So Deadly Premonition, everybody remember that, Deadly Premonition, FK in the coffee. I will shut up about that now, and that is the end of Games of the Week. Probably a hugely long Games of the Week. But thanks a lot for watching, everyone, and I will see you for the next video. Bye.